Kula DAO is a new way of investing into real-world assets. Individuals are able to invest into a diversified portfolio. This can include untapped commodities, natural resources, and real estate. With the use of blockchain technology, Kula DAO brings these traditional investment practices into the modern world. This makes investing in such lucrative and profitable markets more accessible and lower risk for investors. In the example of natural resources, information on mineral rights, geographic surveys, price discovery, even ethical and environmental practices are made public on this secure ledger. This level of transparency is groundbreaking, making investors better informed and more confident in where they place their money. Local communities who are often overlooked and exploited are for the first time protected and incentivized through profit sharing in Kula DAO. Through its unique structure, all stakeholders are given a voice, where they are able to meaningfully partake in the decisions that impact both their lives and livelihoods. Kula DAO aims to align the interests of all stakeholders, and in doing so, generates profitability and shared value. A win-win for all. Join our community now.
Hello, everyone. Welcome to our 28th AMA for Kula DAO. My name is Sam, along with Chris. We're two of the three co-founders here. Micah is away on another business trip this time, but very glad to be here. So to start off, we usually introduce Kula DAO, just as a reminder. We're a blockchain-enabled impact investment vehicle. The reason we use blockchain is to bring transparency and immutability to the marketplace, where a lot of times these natural resources or real-world asset become opaque by nature. So we want to disrupt the industry by bringing in transparency. And so far, been quite successful at it, I would say, because we get to tokenize asset, we get to enable the community, we bring the voting and the strong governance into communities who never had such an opportunity to do so. So glad to be here today with you. I'm going to pass the time to Chris for our year-end review.
Hey guys, it's really, as ever, great to be with you, and thanks for taking the time to tune in and be with us. We were discussing, we usually get on about half an hour to 45 minutes before this call and kind of review what's been going on in the last month. And we realized, it's only been 3 weeks since our last AMA, and we continue to work forward, but we also realized there's an awful lot that's happened throughout this year, and thought that would be good to just to review, to give an idea of where we've got to. And as we talk about it, we realize, my goodness, there's so much that's happened in 12 months that's been positive, things that we didn't know about, things that we are really pleased about, and different kind of pitfalls that we've avoided because of the process that we've been in. And so just, from a headline point of view, we just want to go through the year and review that, and also just talk about some of the main milestones that we have hit that are really important to the overall launch and foundation of the product of the project and the product. So I think you guys remember we started off the year really strong. We were in Switzerland at Davos and able to present Kula, and from the marketing perspective, that was really a strong foundation for us starting into the year. And that's kind of catalyzed many different opportunities throughout the year. We've been represented at Token 2049 in both Dubai and Singapore. We've been on countless various different interviews and projects where we talk about Kula most recently. Sam and I were in London for the week talking at a couple of events. We've both sponsored and been a part of this thing called the Digital Commonwealth in the UK, and that's been really, really instrumental to different relationships and connections that we've been able to make in the industry. And I think one of the things that's just been really apparent is we are now a known entity in the blockchain space and the blockchain world, and various different influencers and people, they've heard about Cooler, or they hear about us from different places and they say, oh, we know Cooler, we've heard about it. And just a lot of interest and uptake around what our objectives are in terms of what we want to see happen through the projects we invest into. That's been wonderful. On the other side, as you guys know, we've pretty much developed the product and it's all ready to launch, except for the regulatory approvals. And we're still waiting, but there is really positive movement and really good news in that area as we go into 2025. And we're loath to give a date, partly because we don't want to nail a date. And then if there's something that delays that a little bit more, it just creates that sense of drag or disillusionment that, oh, are we ever going to get there? But we're really positive that we're there. And as soon as we are in a place where we can say we are good to go, you'll all be the first to know. But you can all be rest assured, as we go to 25, we are very, very bullish in this market that seems to be racing away at the moment, which is also really encouraging. So that's also going on. But the slowness of this year, as much as we are really, really have had moments of extreme frustration with regulators taking their time, there's been a couple of things that have happened that we're genuinely so thankful about. One area particularly is we've been able to restructure the underlying fundamentals of the business. So we actually have a cluster of companies that we've created underneath the token launch that provides security for everybody, tax efficiency for the business, so that we're not losing potentially millions of dollars worth in tax, which otherwise would be going into the value of everybody's tokens. And we've been able to manage that process in a very deliberate way and very clear way, which we had no clue about in the first half of the year. Since we recruited Paul Jackson, who was on our last call, he's been so helpful in helping us understand the corporate dynamics that go on beneath the hood. And it's really boring and really tedious work, but nevertheless has been really instrumental and important for us moving forward. And then secondarily, we also became aware of a couple of, the reality of this industry is it's got a lot of nefarious players in it, and we were really thankful that we were going to engage with one particular company and in one aspect of how we develop and launch the token. And we actually didn't have a contract with them, but we found out just a couple of months ago, oh, that would have been a real big mistake for the long term sustainability of the project, because we didn't know that they were actually under investigation for different fraudulent activity, and we were completely thankful that we avoided that as well. That's been a really great process, and we've been learning a lot more, doing a lot more due diligence, making sure we get through our KYC and AML processes properly. And again, it just underlines the fundamentals of our project. We've gone slow, and the reason we've been slowed down and gone slow is to make sure we get that foundation correct. We do not want to launch on faulty foundations and see this thing collapsing in 6 or 12 months. We're here for the long term, and we thank you for your patience with us in that process. So that's been another great couple of developments in the process. And also then, these fundamentals to the projects are these underlying projects, both the regional DAOs that we've been developing and new projects that we're also white labeling for. And this last 6 months, we've seen an incredible takeoff of the white labeling side of the business opportunities that we can offer, with companies coming and saying, look, we want a token developed for this type of project. And we are able to create and work with them and start to ideate and support and deliver that service to them alongside the regional DAOs. And at the moment, as Sam just shared, Mike is in Nepal again with our project partners there, closing out the year and making sure that things are all again, good foundations are laid for moving forward on that in 2025. And then on Thursday, Sam and I will be together in Malaysia exploring and working on the due diligence of a new project in Malaysia with Timber, which they approached us, and also a potential secondary project in agriculture on the mainland peninsula of Malaysia as well. So we're really excited about these different opportunities that, again, fundamentally go towards building the treasury value for the underlying token when we launch, that we've got a good, strong fundamental start. And, we look back to 12 months ago, hoping that we would launch in the new year. And had we done that, things would not look so good this year, I don't think. We're really grateful for the learning that we've been able to create in this space, and also for just having those strong fundamentals in place as we go into 2025. So we're really excited about this new year. Genuinely, we're really, really excited. I actually can't wait to get into the new year, because some good things are on the horizon and really coming soon. So we're looking forward to all that's ahead. That's kind of an update on the rest of the year. Sam wants to share and has some stuff to share about just the visioning of our product. And want to remind you guys, this is your time for AMA. We would love to. We're here to be answering your questions and update you on aspects of the project that you would really like to know about. So please do feel free to post your questions now. So when Sam's finished, we can jump straight into your questions and make the most of this time for you guys. Thank you so much. Back to you, Sam.
Thank you, Chris. So one thing that we have completed, and I'm really happy to share with you, is we are now officially patent pending. So this is the first patent for Kula. It's about utilizing Internet of Things, or DePIN, decentralized physical infrastructure network. It's basically sensors, combining those things along with AI model to dynamically price tokenized asset. So as you know, because we make impact investment into those projects with real world asset, the question always comes to us is, well, how often do you update the value of these assets? Currently, if you use manual update, it'll be probably an annual base. Most frequently, if you have the money to pay for the auditors and such, maybe quarterly. But with a combination of IoT and AI, we can have a dynamic, pretty much real-time update of these assets if that patent idea is really implemented. That is one of the many, hopefully, that we are going to submit for the patent under Kula. So that's one direction we're going in 2025. Another thing regarding the product vision is that we have a DAO creation platform on which people get to submit proposals and vote on. In order to bring transparency to the software, the vision here is to be able to showcase two things on our app. Thing number one is the strong governance that we have implemented for the DAOs, the regional DAOs. So it will be nice to have a graphical representation of the proposals and how the voting will be carried out. The second thing is the amount of asset that's being tokenized and where they sit under the community. So these are some of these things that will be able to draw users and investors and bring out the power of Kula DAO, both on the DAO governance side and the asset side. So these are the couple of things that we want to do in 2025. And of course, we're more than excited to share our progress with you next year. Let's move on to some questions, Chris.
Yeah, great. So first question here, and again, we have one question. So this will be maybe our shortest AMA without any more questions. So please do feel free to post them. So the first question is, what mechanisms are in place to measure the dual impact, financial and social, of investments in Kula's ecosystem? This is a great question, actually, from the Telegram community. So yeah, the model of Kula is really focused, the original foundation for Kula is on regional DAOs and the double DAO system, and the concept where we're investing into real world assets it's a win-win-win ecosystem is what we're trying to build, where investors are getting good return, the developers are also getting good return from the investment that they get, so they can develop the asset, but also then communities can also benefit because they've got a portion of the equity and are tied by the smart contracts into receiving both the equity and also the governance rights of how that asset develops. That's the overall kind of idea and concept underneath Kula. And the mechanisms are in place essentially as Sam just shared, the app is a really strong foundation for an way that this can be demonstrated. So within the app that we have, and at some point it would be kind of good to do a screen share demonstration of that. Maybe we could do it on the next AMA. It's where people can post the decisions that they want the community to be making. It's where they can interact with those decisions through voting. It's where they can track and see what decisions have been implemented on chain, and then therefore impact the direction of the community at a financial and a social impact level. We also are working on, and again, this is, the entire focus of our build at this point has been on getting the launch out the door, which is understandable because it's how we capitalize the overall project and move forward. In version 2, version 3 of that application, and then those various different other side components that add to the quality and the depth of the project. We'll also be building in metrics that do demonstrate the social impact. So in our kind of proof of concept initial regional DAO, we're able to see where decision making has led to very clear metrics that will be measured, say, by the Sustainable Development Goals on pay parity, increase in pay, reduction of poverty, clean water, these various different areas. And that's just in Zambia. Micah's right now up in Nepal, working with second or maybe third regional DAO on clean energy, and actually increasing IT connectivity in that particular community. That would be another level of social impact. And then also in Malaysia on timber, it's really about nano agricultural technology, and also regeneration of land. So these will be some of the social impacts. And then on the financial side, apart from the realization of the asset and the increase of value that everyone gets in their token, for local communities actually working on the realization of that asset, they get a much fairer return in terms of their remuneration. And we're seeing, in Zambia, small micro businesses emerge because people actually have disposable income, sometimes for even the first time, and that's leading to small businesses such as basic motorcycle taxi businesses, sewing businesses, and small scale agriculture. So one of the key examples there in Zambia would be the production of tomatoes. Sounds so simple, right? The production of tomatoes, but at the moment, if people want tomatoes, they're actually importing them from the main town, which is about a 7-hour drive away. So people don't import tomatoes. So the production of tomatoes on the ground in that particular community is producing a whole other level of vegetable and nutritional intake for that community, and providing small microeconomic impact in the process as well. So that's one of the ways that we're seeing that achieved through the project, and the mechanisms in place with the app to track it and make sure it's all reflected on chain. So I'm going to give you that second question here.
Okay. How's the morale of the Kula team going into 2025? Is the latest bull run trend and more blockchain acceptance of government society worldwide have a better success chance than first thought? Yeah, so I appreciate this question. It's way better than the time that we thought we were going to launch. That's for sure. BTC nearing 100K is something grabbing headline everywhere. The team is super excited and nervous at the same time. When we have internally, we have this like a Gantt chart of we're in the TGE date and everything. At least it's a hypothetical date, but to put the date down is something that bring us to this level of kind of excitement. But looking at how many things need to get done, personally, I'm just so thankful that it's not just me. It's doing it. It's really the whole team. Everyone contribute, and really, that's what a DAO is all about. Each guild come in and contribute to the successful launch of the token. So we're getting more and more excited and seeing, at the end of the tunnel about regulatory approval, along with the, I would say perhaps more mature of the tech stack is giving us more hope of realizing this dream. So yes, it's going fantastic.
Yeah. these next two questions, I think it'd be great for us both to answer different elements of this question. There's two questions. One is like, will there be a huge marketing push before launch? And then a second question here is, once you gain approval for regulation, will there be a timeline between that approval and launch? Are you able to discuss what that plan looks like? And they kind of merge together. So the first answer is, yeah, there's going to be a huge marketing push before launch. We actually went through a process earlier this year, around May, June time, where we did actually start pushing, because we actually did think that launch was imminent. And there was some regulatory slowness that meant that didn't happen, but we learned a lot from it. And so we know we've kind of built the war chest up for that huge marketing push once we've got that date. But once there's approval, there's a lag between approval and launch. It's not like we get the approval and the next day we will launch. And the reason why is because in that space, we've got actually marketing components that will build into that process. So once we have the green lights, we can actually start transferring tokens. So we can do airdrops to certain individuals that will be influencing and incentivize them to influence in their communities for us. And also for institutional sale, we'll do a pre-sale on the token to actually boost that number for the launch. It's great to go to launch with the marketing headline of we've sold X number of tokens at this much before we go into the formal launch. And then also there's some AML considerations and pre-airdrop considerations that we have to legally tie up in that process too, which will take a period of time, and we've got to get those things really right. So again, it's just about strong fundamentals, right? You launch on a strong platform, on a strong foundation, and once we've got those things really locked, we don't anticipate that being a long time either. It's not going to be like 2 months or 3 months. It's really going to be a matter of a couple of weeks at the most, really. But it's all about engaging and making sure that marketing push goes out. I don't know if you had any of that to any more to that, Sam, or not, or move to the next question.
Well, there are like other components, like for example, market makers, the exchange themselves need to kind of get ready, and you need to provide the liquidity on both sides, on the centralized exchanges, and lock in a date, time at which the token will be launched. Marketing effort on all continents. So it's like it's like a little coordination that's needed. But it's, Chris is right. It's not going to be like forever after the approval. Which exchange are we going to be listing out? So we have been speaking with quite a few exchanges, and we got like good news from 2 of them. And we are speaking to more exchanges, mainly to see the demographic exposure, be able to balance them out. And right now, like it's looking really good. And I think once another thing is, we got to know a few fantastic market makers who've been in business for a while, so they can introduce us to even more exchanges if needed. So that's kind of what it is right now. We haven't signed any contract just yet, so we cannot really disclose who is it that we're going to be launching on. But once the contracts are signed, we'll be happy to make announcements.
Yeah. This last go for that last one as well, Sam. What is Kula set up to be only on one blockchain, or will there be several?
So technically, we can be on multiple blockchains. But to reduce the complexity, we are aiming to launch on one chain. And matter of fact, we are in Telegram, on the Telegram channel with them like right now, just to make sure like we can do co-marketing and everything. So some of you might know, and I believe one community member sent us a couple of messages about it. BlackRock is launching on multiple chains. Many chains have bridges and everything. This is cross-chain bridge. But a lot of times that's where the hacks happen. So we are not in the position that we can be launching on multiple chains, just to make sure we can reduce the risk. So it will be on one chain for now.
One more question here. Closing in on the year, being with the project since its inception, what have been your individual most memorable, significant moments of this year?
Hmm. Most significant, memorable. The year like flew by, didn't it, Chris?
It did. Um, I mean, I think there's a memorable moment every month, and I think how are we in this situation in a good way? I think a couple of okay, I've got two. I'm just going to give two. The first one was actually being at Davos, and I think it was we weren't in the World Economic Forum space. It started the day after we left, but to be there in that space and represent Kula in the interviews and just then be showcased in the World Economic Forum, I think was a real privilege. And you know, it's got good and bad connotations for some different communities. It's got a lot of negativity, but there's also that element of credibility, and I think it really was special for us to be there and to be recognized on a global scale in that space. I think it was really very special to be a part of. And the second one's just really more personal. I think I landed into Dubai with the marketing guys, our two colleagues, Set and Tara, and they were already on the ground. But I remember landing into Dubai on the day of the floods, and it was just a ridiculous, crazy day. I was there for about 10 days, took 2 weeks to get the office set up and all of the in order to for us to have a business there, we have to have a general manager and staff on the ground. And so my job was to set up the office, get all the paperwork done, and become an Emirati resident, so that we could have all of our paperwork in order. And yeah, landing into what is normally a world-class city that just functions, it took about 12 hours to get from the plane landing to the hotel, which is about 20 minutes away normally. And just looking at the chaos that created, and there was a few days there where you know, go get a blood test to get your Emirati ID, and you're basically testing for any health problems, chest X-ray, things like that. And I had to walk around the different offices, and it took hours because there was no taxis because the taxis couldn't get through the floods. And it was just a really memorable moment, you know, having 5, 6 days of wandering around offices in Dubai, and it's kind of those things that don't get seen necessarily in this forum. And you know, it's a token project, and everyone's excited about the token launch. But there's moments where it's like, well, that's really memorable. I'll never forget those days of being in Dubai in the floods and just all of the chaos that was there, just in order to get a piece of paper, so we can have an office, so we can file a piece of paper with the regulator, things like that. So yeah, just lots of different experiences this year, but those would be two memorable moments for myself.
Yeah, for me, it was really the ups and downs um, of the journey over 2024, particularly when Kula is running dry, really dry. And I remember that one day, like, starting from the morning about, oh, you have this pre kind of like a pre-approval almost from this regulator. Another call come in about this investor comes in with, you know, $200,000 a month until launch, to um, more investment coming in the afternoon. Uh, two other calls about more investment and or more people jumping in to help us. And everything happened within this 1 day time frame. And it was super weird, surreal type of experience because it's like you know, I don't think we've ever been that busy on calls, Chris, that one day. And at the end of the day, it was like, oh, I think what we said about the budget that's needed to launch is satisfied with room to spare because one investor's son decided to put in his own $1,000. So that was really interesting and very thankful, right, for the investors and for the faith that people have in us and the believing in the work. Um, but more so, it just feels really like a supernatural type of thing that's happening, and we're being pushed forward on the effort. Um, I don't think we'll ever forget that day. So that was it's a moment that is, other than the location and everything, but it's really cool. Um, let's see. How's the profit? Decide how the profit different projects such as Limestone reflect back into Kula Treasury. So our default model is 40-40-20, and 20% goes to community, 40% goes to the local developer, and then 40% is Kula. But that number changes depending on how much money, how much investment we can put into these projects. So the profit sharing reflects that type of percentage of the investment that we make into the project. And to make it transparent, the profit needs to be on-ramped onto the blockchain and then being transferred to the KulaDAO wallet. Most likely in USDT. So that would be the way that we can receive the profit.
That's great. Last question that we have here at the moment is, are you still receiving early investments? If so, is there a deadline? And the answer to that question is yes, yes, we are. And at the moment, there's no deadline. There will be a point in the new year where we, like I said earlier, kind of gets that point where we know that we can launch, and at that point we'll move to a different structure for pre-sale. And before the actual token does launch, that'll be a different phase, but there isn't a deadline on that at the moment. So if people are interested to invest, that window is still open. And there is no clear deadline right now, but I wouldn't wait around if you are interested to benefit from the earlier cost of the tokens.
Yeah, one thing I want to make a mention, Chris, on that is a lot of people have been asking us, can they make investment after we receive regulatory clearance? Yes, you can, but the price will be different. Because with the license and VASP, virtual asset service provider type of license, the value of the company, of the DAO, obviously went up by quite a bit, because we can turn around and sell it if we don't really want it, right? I mean, most likely we're not going to sell that, but we could choose to, and that value is already added onto the asset side of KulaDAO. So the investment token value will be will shoot up pretty quickly.
Yeah. And just to be clear with that's what we think, and we are obliged to say, do your own research and make sure that you've understood the fundamentals of the projects. It's not investment advice, it's just our perspective on what's going to happen. And yeah, you must do your own research and check things, and do your own vetting of the project to make investment choices.
No guarantee it will go up.
So yes, another question has just come in. So how are we able to start the process if we are interested in early investments? Sam?
Talk to Micah usually, isn't it? Early investment right now is through SAFT agreement, simple agreement for future token. You can email us hello@kuladao.io, and we'll get to the right hands for you.
Yeah.
Okay. Seems like there are no more open questions. Fantastic. Thank you, everyone.
Yeah, thank you guys for taking the time to be with us again today, and we look forward to being with you in the new year, and are very excited about the next couple of AMAs and what we can start letting you guys know about and updating you on. And have a great Christmas and a good new year, and we will see you on the other side.
Bye.
Bye-bye.